Stop giving people advice unless they directly ask for it. Today's topic is about unwarranted advice. It's about people who give you advice or tell you what to do when you didn't ask for their advice, and you're not asking for anyone's advice, really. You're just trying to vent in certain situations. So if people don't ask you for your opinion or advice, it really doesn't make any sense to give it, in most cases, if you know what I'm saying. An ex-girlfriend that I would date, she was notorious for this. At the end of the day, she would be at work, I'd be doing my thing, we'd come together, and I would just be venting to her about my day, like, oh man, this guy's so annoying. He didn't do the thing that I told him to do, the way I told her to do it. And she would just come with all this unwarranted advice, like, well, maybe he just had a bad day, and you should be more understanding and try to... And it's just like, shut the fuck up. Like, that's not what I asked you for. You're telling me things that, in retrospect, I probably already know, but I'm just trying to vent. I'm just trying to purge my negative emotions from the day. She would keep on doing this every time I would try to vent to her, to the point that I just didn't want to vent to her anymore. I would vent to somebody else who would listen, some of my other friends or something like that. And that relation quickly dwindled, which it was pretty pointless in the first place anyways, but that's another story. You have to really think about, why is the main reason why people tell you things? Vent. Why do people vent their emotions and how they feel? If they don't end their venting and their speaking about their day or people, anything, if they don't end that with, so what do you think I should do? Or what do you think of this situation? You really should not be saying anything short of, oh yeah, for real. Or wow, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Or I know how you feel. Or yeah, if they say this person was annoying me, da 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 da. Yeah, fuck that person. Yeah. Agreement. You should be in agreement with them, because all they're trying to do is purge the negative experiences of that day or that week or that month. They're trying to purge it. They're trying to get it out their system, process it themselves with somebody there as a listener, and that's it. They get rid of it and life goes on. My mom also would be notorious of this at one point in time, where she would just have a worry and a doubt inside her. So I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to go swimming today. And she'd be like, well, don't swim too deep in the deep end. You might drown. Like, what? What type of advice is that to give somebody? Why are you putting a negative spin on everything? A lot of people actually do this, until I adjusted with her and said, Mom, listen, if you keep coming with this unwarranted negative advice, not only me, but no one in your life is going to want to talk to you anymore. People don't want to hear that shit. Eventually they get tired and they find somebody else to talk to. Ironically enough, I'm giving her advice about not giving advice, but I'll get to that soon, where it's a situation where you feel like you directly have to step in. Which ties back to, are you a bad listener? So when people tell you things, are you always coming back with some type of advice, or do you just listen? If they're not ending it, like I said, with what do you think, you really should just be a good listener at the end of it. Another example is, say, you're telling your friend about a date you went on. Like, I went on a date and she was 30 minutes late and didn't even text me after. And then the friend may say things like, oh, women, they just want to prove themselves and they want to test men. They want you to prove yourself and things like that. And da-da-da-da. It's like, bruh, I don't need to hear any of this shit. I'm just venting to you about a bad date I heard. I know everything you're saying. I know she was probably just trying to test me, or maybe she wasn't into me, or whatever. She had a bad day. I know that. But that still doesn't mean I don't want to just purge the negativity of that bad experience with a friend or a family member. Even though some of the things may be true, what you're saying and your advice that you're giving, let's keep it real here. You are not the smartest person out there. You don't have all the answers.
You ain't got the answers, Sway.
If someone is vulnerable enough to open up to you and really tell you how they're feeling about something, the best bet you can do is just be a good listener. Just sit there, just listen, and agree with them. Unless now it's something where you really feel the need to step in. So say somebody's like, I'm having problems with my girlfriend. She pisses me off. The other day I slapped her and, she keeps pissing me off. You can't be in agreement with something like that. You kind of have to step in and be like, okay, you know what, buddy? That's not the right girl for you, man. Either you break up with the girl, or if it's something negative like that, like every day they come to you about, my girlfriend's pissing me off, I'm not happy in this relationship, then they could come to you and say, listen, you know what? That's not the right girl for you. And now you're affecting my well-being with all this negative experiences you're sharing with me. So either break up with that girl or just deal with it and don't vent about it, because you're going to have to deal with it. You're making your bed, so lay in your bed. If it's anything short of that, men, women, just be a good listener. I'm telling you, this is a problem I find all over. It's very hard to find people who are just good listeners, and you just talk to them and they just agree with what you say, or just take that in for what it's worth, knowing that you're just trying to process this emotion. Everybody has advice to say. Everyone seems to be a know-it-all. They seem to know everything about everything nowadays. I don't know if you've noticed this. It's like you go on TikTok and there's 17-year-old girls giving you astrology advice and dating advice and things like that. Or it's nuts. Today's day and age, I understand we have Google and a lot of people can learn things very quickly, but there's life experience needed. And again,
You ain't got the answer, Sway.
now, unwarranted advice in general never gets listened to. I mean, how many times have you told somebody, yeah, you know, you probably shouldn't do that? And they said, you know what? You're right. I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? That never really happens. Maybe like a slither of a 2% out of the time, but more times it's like, you should not do that. And they're like, okay. And in their mind, they're like, fuck this guy. And they do it. And then whether it works out or it doesn't, and then they come back to you. And even if they come back to you after that, you don't want to be the person who's like, yeah, I told you. You see, I told you. All these things is just going to make people not want to communicate with you. You know what I mean? If you're not a good listener, if you're not conveying your information properly to them, they're not going to want to talk to you about it anymore, quite frankly. Again, my friend, he had a great take on this. He said he doesn't give advice at all unless they say, hey, what is your opinion on this? Or what do you think I should do? And even he gives this great buffer that he taught me. He says, if I was in your position, this is what I would do. What that does is it removes the liability from you, because if you give someone direct advice and they listen to you and follow it and it doesn't work out, they're going to be pretty pissed. That I told you so is going to flip, because now they're going to be like, you told me so and it didn't work out. So why should I take advice from you? Do you even know what you're talking about? This is especially true with older people and younger people. I always see older people trying to give younger people advice, and I tell them they're not going to listen to you. They're young. They have to live life. They're teenagers. They have to experience things on their own. You can give them a little bit of ground rules, but even still, as soon as you start giving them advice, all they're hearing is condescending, I know more than you. You don't know nothing. And who wants to hear that? Who's going to be in a position to listen when you're coming from that angle? So that's a pretty quick one today. It's really a personal topic to me, because I've had very many instances where this happens to me, where I'm just trying to vent to someone and they're giving me advice or trying to like teach me something or just act like any type of know-it-all. And really, I'm just trying to talk to that person and vent my energy. So be a better listener. Do not give people advice unless they directly ask you. And even if they do directly ask you, tread lightly. Tread very lightly and give them advice with a grain of salt, and let them know that this is what you think they should do or what you would do if you were in their situation. If you try this out, I guarantee you it'll help you be a better listener, and it'll change your brain, because when people are talking, instead of you thinking about what you're going to say about what they're saying, it'll teach you to kind of shut down your brain and actually listen to people. It'll make you a better listener. Your relationship will improve with your significant other, your family, your friends. Everyone, really. I mean, who doesn't like a good listener? Everybody wants to be heard at the end of the day, right? People don't want to be told what to do. They want to be listened to, right? In summary, stop giving people advice in general. That's it. Level Up Protocol. Thank you to everyone who's watching my videos, liking, commenting, subscribing. I really appreciate it. You know, the thing about self-help and self-bettering is like the books. They say self-help books, the people who need to read them will never really read them or pick them up. And the people who are reading them don't necessarily need to be reading them, because they're already in a place to better themselves. So that's kind of how I feel about my channel, and it's working out in a positive way, because it's just bringing all these people who are on the same energy as me trying to better themselves. So all your comments and interactions, they really help me stay on point, because I'm nowhere near perfect, mind you. All these things are topics that I learned from myself and errors in my own ways, to be honest. So thank you all. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Tell your friends, show your friends this. If you want to find an easy way to tell them certain things, you could just suggest them my blog. You can send them a link. All right. That's it for today. Level Up Protocol. Be your best self.